Hey, I'm Nathan Nolan Edwards, and I was just interviewed by Keith Andrew. He's a wonderful guy, great interviewer. I very much recommend him. Give him a listen.
My name is Keith Andrew, and welcome to 782. Today, we have Nathan Edwards, professional upcoming actor. Let's jump right into it. So the first question I want to ask you is, you mentioned you're from New York City. How you been during the quarantine?
Yeah, that's what a question. There's last March quarantine, June quarantine, summer quarantine, then this winter quarantine. All in all, I think I am really good at adapting, but I'm also I'm used to not being okay. So I've taken things one day at a time and known how to get through some of these difficult situations from last March, April, when getting groceries or laundry just felt like a super scary Olympic event. Where and now it doesn't feel quite as scary. I feel more used to it, used to layering up, masking up, and trying to go in and out as quickly as I can. So, you know, all in all, okay. I'm a resilient guy.
No, absolutely. It's really amazing that, after 100 years, it's pretty sad, but history repeats. If you want to look at it like that.
Yep. Yeah. And I live right on Broadway, so just the sounds of hearing siren after siren, day after day, especially in March, April, May. I think even until the end of June, the sirens were like pretty consistent all day, every day. So that's just a really it's a sign that you just cannot ignore. Some people living somewhere else might be able to ignore it. Even people that live just a couple blocks away from the main street of Broadway didn't have that experience. So yeah, it's definitely something that I'll kind of always remember.
It's funny. I know a bunch of people who live in Newbury. They say after a while they can't tell the difference between thunder or a gunshot.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
know it's a bad joke, but it's Newburgh. It's not pretty. But you can say that about Warwick and Newark in New Jersey. It does not walk in a park either.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I mean, I've lived in some of those neighborhoods where you do hear the gunshots, but yeah.
Now, the next question I want to ask you is, what is the biggest change you have made in your acting career?
Ever or in this last year?
Um, well, we can answer in either two ways. Well, let's just say acting career first.
Yeah. The biggest change I made in my acting career. It's a good question. I think deciding that just interpreting wasn't enough for me for my acting. Just interpreting other people's text and work was not enough to have me feel uh, fully fulfilled. So creating things, whether creating new, unique characters or creating small sketches and scenes. Yeah, just getting out of the framework of thinking that the only way that I could do acting is if I took somebody else's text and learned that very well and interpreted it for me.
No, you have to learn at your own pace.
Yeah, and it's the longer I've been doing it, the more I realize that you're never done. It's always something that you're learning more and more every day. You're never going to be like, great, I got this. Great, I know Shakespeare. Great, I know comedy. It's something you have to continue to work on every day, which I think I've always known. But the longer that I've been doing it, the more I realize like how much there is to continue to grow and learn.
No, absolutely. It doesn't matter how old you get, there is always something new to learn. But the next question, go ahead.
I also think that it's fun when somebody's like, oh, like you're an actor, what have you done? And then you're able to list things that you've created yourself. I think that excites people a lot. And it's also nice to have something to say as opposed to, when you're in between jobs that other people have control over and other people give you, it's much nicer to say, oh, I'm actually working on this, like this one person show or this thing that I wrote, that this is going to come up and I've created this thing all on my own, as opposed to waiting for somebody to give you permission to do something.
No, I agree. For all my life, I was told I was never going to amount to anything. I learned at a fifth grade to middle school level. I wasn't qualified. And as you said, you can wait all your life for someone to give you their permission, or you can, PG 13, get off your ass, say, I'm going to prove to you, look at what I can accomplish. And you being a guest on the Keith Andrew Network is a perfect example for 7.5 years of, hey, I never asked anyone for anything. If you want an opportunity, somebody says no, okay, no, but I'm going to prove you I deserve it, and I'm going to create my own opportunity. Here we go, 7.5 years later, Keith Andrew Network going strong.
Yes, wonderful.
Now, once that being said, I met some great people along the way. I met some crappy people along the way. But, it's the entertainment world. It's everything. It's not going to be sparkly clean. Everything's going to be 50-50. Because I like giving people opportunities. That's like you. I didn't know you for a hole in the wall, but I saw you were a professional actor. I said, you know what? He looks like a nice guy. I want to give him an opportunity. And that's what I do. And everyone, not one person came to me that I know of recently. Not one person came to me and said, hey, we know you have a show. I want to be a guest. I approached 782 people and say, I came across your profile. I like what I saw. I want to give you an opportunity. Now, with that being said, if that say that person does something stupid, like over the years, it doesn't blow back to me. That's only on the person. But it's kind of like, I'll give you an example. One person I interviewed said, oh, this person cheated on his girlfriend and whatever. And he's not really that nice of a guy. And I'm like, huh. Well, that doesn't really make a difference to me. I really don't care. I just want an interview. So, as long as you're not like, a white supremacist, neo-Nazi, go around, kill people, as long as you're just a normal person, that wants to live your life how you want to, you're more than welcome to be on the show. I do not dig into people's personal lives. So if something, say, hypothetically comes up, well, I don't know anything. I don't want to know anything. So people like to gossip and make rumors, but whatever. This is not the gossip show. This is not the garbage show. This show, it's about proving the point.
Yeah, great. Yeah, well, that's a pretty low bar, but I think I definitely exceed those standards. But yes, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, and to be honest, Keith Andrew Network always likes to raise the bar, always reaching the brow to lanes, climbing that ladder, and all those great metaphors. But actually, it's funny we should talk about metaphors, because the next question I want to ask you is, what is the best advice you were ever given?
Yeah, great question. I think one of my old voice teachers, turned me on to a bunch of Deepak Chopra books, and he mentioned just living in the gaps and how much value there is in the in between times, as opposed to when you're really taking action, and all the lessons that there are in those gaps, and that really resonated with me at a young age, of those times in between shows, in between jobs, in between a lot of things, of how much magic there is in that time.
Oh, absolutely. Now, the next question I want to ask you, you mentioned you're a teacher, and the theme about the show is about disabilities. Have you ever worked with people with disabilities? And are you willing to work with people with disabilities?
Yeah, I've done a number of work with you know varying disabilities throughout the years. Yes, and always willing to learn how to be more accessible to more and more people. There's, I'm sure that there's some that I've never personally worked with before, but yeah, yeah, from a very young age, from like my early 20s when I first started teaching, I definitely had to learn how to be as inclusive as possible and accessible as possible with all my students. So yeah, definitely.
Now, the next one I want to ask you is how comfortable are you speaking in front of a large group of people?
Um, yeah, that's a great question. I guess it depends on what I'm speaking to. If it's a show, a theater event, it's definitely something that I've rehearsed before, and I feel very comfortable with that. If it's like a keynote speak that I've done sometimes, those are a little bit more like um, I'm nervous up until I do it, and then once I have like my microphone on, or once the lights go on me, then I'm like, oh, I got this, I can do this. But there are nerves going up before it, and there's kind of this high and a crash afterwards. But in the actual moment, I feel great. I usually feel really good with it.
Now, it's the same question, but I'm going to add it in a different way. Same exact question, but acting instead of speaking.
Yeah, so acting in front of other people, yeah, usually I feel really comfortable. Sometimes it depends. There have been times where I've had to go on for a show that I've not been in rehearsals with, so I've been like a replacement or a last minute addition. So sometimes that you're like, I hope I get all these words out and move to the right places so a set piece doesn't hit me. But yeah, all in all, it's been something that I have been preparing for my whole life, and I do feel conditioned to do it. Um, and I think that being comfortable isn't always the desire. Like you don't necessarily have to be comfortable with it, as long as you're okay being a little uncomfortable and leaping and just trusting that that net will appear and that you're going to be okay. You're not in any actual danger. There's no saber-toothed tiger chasing you or anything like that. You're going to be all right. So.
Now, this one that kind of fits you. How did you, let's see, how did you, I can't post in the word, how did becoming an actor shape you as a person?
Yeah, good question. I've been performing for so long, and then I guess when I started my professional career, I remember reading The Artist Way by Julia Cameron, and then just one of the quotes, I believe it was Michael Chekhov. I should look that up to make sure, but I'm pretty sure it's Michael Chekhov said to work on your art, work on your life, and since then I've been constantly trying to work on my life and be a better three-dimensional human and loving the person that is in between acting jobs as often as possible. Yeah, and so doing that, working on your life is just very, very important to having that sustainable acting career that where you feel fulfilled all the time. Yeah. Also, reading some work by Simon Sinek and having a strong why, a strong purpose for why you do all the things you do, I think is really important. And then that can translate to all parts of your life, not just acting jobs. And then that just makes life more fulfilling.
No, I agree. And now the second part of that question is, what are some of your plans for the future? I know
Yeah.
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you can finish if it was a two-part question.
It's funny, everyone likes to make plans until they're punched in the face. I had plans, I had plans, working, going to meet and greets, Comic Cons, and of course I have a big head. Maybe one day I will get there. But have you had any plans set in stone that fell through? And what are your plans going to the future?
Yeah, I have had some certain plans just fall through, and I feel like normally when some of those things happen, it's not just one thing that's going to fall through. It's going to be this thing and this thing and this thing, and it's all going to happen within 24 hours, where you feel like you're at such a great place and you crash very quickly. And sometimes I just feel like it's just the universe testing my resilience and all the work that I've tried to do on myself. But yeah, sometimes it just sucks. So plans for the future. Yeah, I mean, I started booking more commercial work recently. So, and I've really enjoyed doing that. They're quick. I get to be myself and get to be super silly and create really big characters in a short amount of time. And under the world we're living in now, I've been able to shoot some while being COVID compliant and feeling like I was safe and others around me were safe. So that's a big thing. And then I started working with a coach recently who's out in Los Angeles, somebody that I've known for a while, and they've been helping me just really set my get my goals pretty crystal clear, and then and achieving them. Like I'd like to do some more bigger TV work. I've never booked like a series regular or a guest star on a TV show, which are those meatier parts and give you just more financial income, which is definitely something that actors are always looking for. So that's part of my plan moving forward, of finding out ways to secure some stronger representation to get me into some of those rooms to be on a series regular TV show, guest star TV shows, network TV, all those things. So that's been something that's not necessarily the most fulfilling or most fun, but knowing that I'm doing it for a bigger reason is helpful.
Absolutely. Now we're going to take a commercial break. But when we come back, I'm going to ask you a couple more questions and pass it over to you.
I'm Jenny Fine.
Hi, it's Mimi Chen.
Hi, my name is Ellen Dorsch.
It's Shauna Toth.
Hey guys, I'm Anastasia Edwards.
Hi, this is Jackie Nunez.
Hi, I'm Amelia Rose Fair. I'm
Hey guys, I'm Alexandria Denise, and you're watching Keith Andrew's show. He's doing a terrific job. Make sure you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more awesomeness.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Keith Andrew Network. Make sure to like and subscribe to the Keith Andrew Network. Hit that bell icon to be notified when brand new episodes of the hit show, the Keith Andrew Network, is available on Facebook and YouTube. Also, the following is brought to you by the X Zone, by my friend H.B. Gibson. Also brought to you by Life of a Fighter, by my friend Michael. So if you're a big fan of Life of a Fighter and the X Zone, make sure to like and subscribe to those channels as well. But the one question I want to ask you before we get started is, what is your claim to fame?
My personal claim to fame right now? Oh my goodness. I mean, I was in a production of Hello Dolly with Andrea McCardle, who was the original Annie on Broadway, and just I became very close with her very quickly, and I love her very much. So it was wild at that part of my career, just getting to work with a true legend of legends. Somebody I've listened to from a very young age, who's always brought me so much joy, and then getting to make some art with her and be friends with her. That was pretty special for me, and we're still close to this day. And even during this pandemic time, a lot of people have been asking her to sing some of her signature songs. So that was a pretty special moment of my life. And during that time, Carol Channing, who originated the role of Dolly Levi, was still alive, and so it was fun knowing that Andrea would sometimes go out into the lobby and give Carol a call and just ask for some advice, and it was just everything I'd ever wanted to do was happening.
Yeah, so it sounds really wonderful. Here, do you find this one very interesting? What are you most, this is the type of question, you find in a high school yearbook. What are you most likely to become famous for?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like I could very easily be one of those guys on those popular commercials, like the guy, Can You Hear Me Now from Sprint, or Flo from Progressive. I could totally see that happening for me. And those things kind of happen very quickly. No necessarily like rhyme or reason, or building up your credits before you get an opportunity like that. A lot of luck goes into that. Also, there's been a lot of new musical TV shows that keep coming out that need people that can work the screen, but also can perform and sing. So one of those, I think, is also in the near future for me.
All right, so now we're going to move to the hard-hitting questions. And like I said, you can feel free to ask me anything you want. So the first one I want to ask you is, what are you pretending not to know?
What am I pretending not to know? Yeah, can I ask what exactly you mean by that?
That's good. Well, for me, it's a lot of people say I'm pretending not to be a good talk show host, but I enjoy doing this. Um, it doesn't really give me. It's more of a self awareness question of what are you pretending not to know.
Yeah,
But
okay, great, great. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think sometimes I pretend to not know that I already have all the skills that I need. I feel like uh, I forget that and often think that there's something that's out of my reach or something that I don't already know yet that I'm searching for. And I really know it. I really know a lot of things.
what about why don't you do the things you know you should be doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of that comes to just resistance, artistic resistance, things that you're like, well, if I do this, if I really, really do this and really, really do this full out, and what I hope happens still doesn't happen, then what? Then am I never ever gonna get it? Am I, am I just a total fraud forever? I don't know. But yeah, I think that's part of it. A lot of it's just resistance and navigating how to plow through that resistance.
Now going back to your acting, what are your acting values and have you stuck to them?
My acting values, yeah. I mean, I like to try to find the light in every character and to create light and joy in all the work that I do. Um, I try to make sure that I'm always as authentic as possible, and to do that, really sinking your teeth into whatever text you're given, or committing the time and energy into whatever I'm working on, and knowing, being gentle with myself when I don't get it right the first time or the first 20 times. Um, yeah, and being okay with doing it wrong a whole lot of times before you get it right.
Now it's funny. This one kind of goes to me, but I want to hear your opinion. What is holding you back from being the person you want to be?
Yeah, there's a lot of doubt and a lot of fear uh, that I listen to every day. I feel like we're constantly having to battle our fear gremlins of doubt, saying like, "Mm-mm, "You're not enough. You're never going to be enough," um, and and to combat that with as many positive affirmations, saying, "You are enough. You're unbelievably enough. It's unbelievable how enough you actually are. You're so enough." Yeah, I think that's a big thing holding me back. Um, yeah, and then other just false beliefs. I think a lot of actors really want to train a lot, and truly, honestly, I do think that there are a lot of financial investments that one needs to make in this career, by having enough materials for your reels to build. Headshots are not cheap, and all these things that just make you just at the level of industry standard. Are a financial cost, a financial burden, and I think sometimes actors, we have a hard time knowing what are the wise investments, the classes that I really should take, and what are the I don't know, more scammy investments, or investments where you want an immediate result or an absolute truth right away, but no one's actually able to give that to you. So if you're not doing the actual work, then some of the investments are not actually serving you.
It's funny you should talk about investments. You should always invest in yourself, number one. But with everything that you accomplished and everything you've gone through, have you ever felt that your failures have hindered you? Now, people say you either win or lose. For me, I've been saying to myself, I never lose. And I'm not saying to sound like Trump or anything. I never lose. I either learn or I have gained something out of it. So, like everything you accomplish in life, you always get something out of it. Maybe a positive, maybe a negative. But the biggest thing that kind of hinders people is, do you think that the fear of being a failure kind of clouds your judgment? Passing the show over to you.
Yeah, I think that's always something that I'm sure every human being deals with, the fear of failing, or the fear of being a failure. Um, I think that the failures make us who we are, and there's no we can't change them. We can't get rid of them. They're still going to be there, no matter how much we try to forget that thing that happened 10 years ago. Yeah, I think one of the first times where I was really feeling failure in a big way was when I was auditioning for schools, for colleges. I went to school for musical theater, auditioned for like maybe 12 different programs or so. And I just was not, I didn't actually think that um, the acceptance rates would be slim. A lot of programs accept between like 12 and 20 people, some even up to 40. But when I was auditioning, hundreds and thousands would audition to some schools or apply to some schools just to get an audition. And there were some like dream schools, reach schools, schools that I thought I was definitely going to get into just based on the numbers of people that they would take. And in some of those I didn't get into, and that was really hard to navigate. And my number one choice for schools at that time did not accept me. So navigating that, was hard. And it's hard to ask somebody that young to make the right choice of what's going to affect kind of the rest of their life. The experience you have during those really formative years do affect you. And and I didn't have anybody there who had been through it before, or that was there to be my mentor, to hold my hand and be like, yep, this is actually very, very normal. And you're not alone in these experiences, but I know it feels like you're totally alone now. And that's, that's all stayed with me. And the lessons I learned of navigating that time, I think I still deal with. And for many years, I was like, even up with the schools I got accepted to, I was like, was that the right choice? Was that the right choice? And then I actually left my first program after 1 year and chose a different one. And, I always ask myself too, was that the right choice to leave? But I can't make a different choice. I can't go back to that time and make a different choice. So I was meant to be the person that I am today based on all those choices I made in the past.
No, absolutely. Now, my last question for you, wrapping up the show, is how can people follow you on social media? Are you on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram?
Yeah, totally. Instagram's probably my number one platform, and that you can find me at Nathan Nolan Edwards. Nolan's a family name, so we actually spell it Nolen. And then on all versions of that, it's some version of that. Also, my website's my full name spelled out, www.nathannolanedwards.com. And then you can find links for my Instagram, Twitter there. I'm not super active on Twitter at the moment, but that's at Nolan Edwards. There is a LinkedIn account for me that I update occasionally. What else? Yeah, and then there'll be some new things coming out in the very near future that I will be sharing on those platforms. So I'm excited about that. Yeah.
No, absolutely. My last question for you is, I want you to be brutally honest. When I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what was your honest first reaction? What made you say yes? And after being a guest, how do you feel now, and would you recommend it to other people?
Yeah, great question. I think you were actually my filtered messages on Instagram. So like it didn't even come to my main direct messages yet. So I had to go through there, and and all kinds of messages go to that part of the account. So you kind of have to filter out, is this a real person? Is this a robot? Is this somebody that I feel okay chatting with? And so I feel like it was several weeks ago that you sent me that initial message. So I was definitely interested from the beginning, but just life and navigating pandemic life, getting something on the calendar is sometimes tricky and hard to navigate. So I remember that being like my number one block of being like, okay, like look at the calendar, you have days that would work. So let's just throw a few of those out and then we'll figure it out till a date comes. And it was, once the date and time was set, I felt much, much better. I felt less anxious about are we going to be going back and forth for weeks, finding a date that works. But I feel like overall we found it pretty quickly, just a couple messages back and forth. I'm super glad I said yes. I try to say yes to as many things as possible. I always feel very flattered when somebody wants to spend some time and talking with me and learning more about me. Yeah, and I think that's good for anybody to be a part of. Yeah, so I would absolutely recommend it to anybody else. Yeah, it was wonderful.
No, absolutely. Now, I do have a couple questions for you off the air. Wrapping up our talk show, an honor and privilege having you as a guest. I just want to say thank you for your time.